Here's the frame data for Gauntlets. I've colored the data that's a lot lower than usual green, and the data that's a lot higher than usual red. Pause the video if you want to take a look through it. Neutral Light is a really strong close range move because it has one of the shortest startups in the game, even shorter than grounded Qatar light attacks. As such, try to use it whenever you are close to the enemy. Some cases of this might be whenever the enemy misses a move right next to you, like down air, or they attacked in the wrong direction so you can punish them. Or a more proactive approach, such as speed dodging towards the enemy into an attack light. This is a really good option against more grounded players because the neutral light startup is so short that the timing it takes to start speed dodging and neutral lighting is very hard to react to. Neutral Light is also very good at catching dodges because it has about the same amount of active frames as the standard dodge does. So you can try to position yourself where the enemy dodges and throw it out at any time after they dodge for an easy dodge punish. Sidelight is pretty decent at punishing missed attacks because it can reach pretty far and has decent coverage. Although Downlight does a bit better when it comes to horizontal punishes since it reaches farther and has more range, so it's safer. That's why rather than using this move for punishing, I mostly use it for mid-range engages. Engaging at this range is relatively safe because Sidelight has hitboxes that covers quite a bit of area and it also ends above the ground, but below single jump height, which makes it hard for most weapons to punish. Downlight is really good at punishing missed attacks because it reaches very far with a decent range. It's a bit risky to engage with it though, because it doesn't cover much area and has high recovery frames, all while moving you closer to the enemy. So if you miss Downlight against a good player, they will most likely punish you. It is very rewarding when you land it though because it can true combo into Sidelight and Side Air, as well as into recovery, which can kill much earlier than Gauntlet glide attacks can, but it is a bit harder because you need to jump, chase dodge straight forward into recovery. If you haven't already, then make sure you separate jump from aim up, otherwise jump into forward chase dodge will be harder, as well as a couple other things I mentioned in my keyboard settings video. Neutral Air is a very fast move that's great for engaging enemies that are stacked or are above you. This is because it has quick startup frames for an air move and it's a short move overall, so it's not easy to punish. And you're free to move left and right for the most part during the attack, so it's a pretty safe and hard to see coming move. Using it immediately after you jump or speed dodge is great because it's very hard to react to the quick startup of the neutral air, especially when you combined it with a sudden change in movement caused by a jump or a dodge. You can also often true combo into side air, down air, and recovery. It's a bit complicated to land the combos though, so I recommend checking out my Gauntlet combos video, which I'll put at the end screen of the video. Side air is a decent anti-jump prediction because it has a good amount of active frames that covers a decent area, so it's easy to catch the enemy if they jump up into it. I often like to do this very close to the enemy because it also moves the user forward. So for example, if you predict they'll jump backwards, you can jump speed dodge into side air and it might hit them, but if it doesn't, you tend to move away from the enemy so that you can't be punished. Also really good for punishing because it has good startup for an air move, so it's easier to catch enemies that misses an attack. Try not to contest any moves with side air because it has a really short range, even shorter than Qatar's side air, so it will lose against most direct attacks. Down air is a very situational move because it has very long active frames that you can't move left or right during, so if you miss down air, then it is very easy to punish, possibly the easiest Gauntlet move to punish. Fortunately, it has very short startup, one of the shortest startups out of any air attacks, so it is very good for punishing missed attacks below you. And with the short startup, plus long active frames, you can use it to block jumps or upward dodges by jumping into down air or diagonal dodging into down air before your enemy jumps or dodges there. I only recommend doing this kind of read if you can move upwards before the down air though, because if you can't, then you fall to the ground really quickly, which is easier to punish and makes your hitboxes unfocused. For example, if you're falling and you use down air, or if you dodge straight forward into down air, then you fall to the ground and be stuck for a bit before you can move again. But if you jump or diagonal speed dodge first, then you float a bit and you can start moving before touching the ground. Recovery is a really good move that can be used all the time against enemies that are floaty. It starts up quickly, covers a huge vertical area, and has insanely low recovery frames for an air attack. You can tell just by looking at the way you can jump after using recovery without losing any height at all. Its range is not that good, but it doesn't matter because you move upwards so fast that it will beat out any move 90% of the time. On top of just contesting floaty players above you, it's also really good as an engage against floaty players. Just use speed dodge into recovery and it will hit the enemy whether they jump really high or low. Ground pound is a bit tricky to use because it's currently the only ground pound that you can steer left and right, but as a trade-off, it is one of the slower ground pounds. In fact, the enemy has to pretty much be still or jump into it for it to land because it moves as fast as simply falling. So when you're edgeguarding someone with a ground pound, you have to pretty much predict where they'll fall towards and move there with them until it hits. Aside from edgeguarding, it's also great to use as a punish or engage on the platform, because as long as you release the ground pound before touching the ground, then it will not activate its grounded hitboxes, which has higher recovery time. It also releases very quickly as well, so you just have to time it decently well and it won't be as punishable as most ground pounds are. Although sometimes you want to slam into the ground because the grounded hitboxes hits a bit farther and is bigger. Only do it if you're confident it will hit though, since as I said, it will have high recovery time and is more punishable. Just think of it as a down air that covers a lot of area and you can steer it towards the enemy. I mostly use it after pressuring the enemy into dodging or attacking by jumping above them. Don't try to contest any moves with it though, since it has probably the worst downwards range in the game. Now, I'm going to be going over some useful tips and tricks for gauntlets that can help your overall gauntlets gameplay. When the enemy doesn't really engage much and they always jump away from your moves with the best reach like downlight, sidelight and side air, then don't be afraid to engage using speed dodge cancel into air attacks like recovery, side air, and neutral air. The gauntlet air moves have some of the quickest startups compared to other air moves and are very hard to react to. Plus, they tend to move you away from your opponent. Like if you expect them to jump backwards, you dodge into that direction and neutral air. If they jump there, you could hit them. If not, then the momentum from the speed dodge will likely move you away from them. Same with side air, and recovery will move you all the way upwards, and it's the shortest move on gauntlets, so it's very hard to punish if you miss. As mentioned earlier, neutral light has very short startup, so it's great to sometimes fake a missed attack from a decent range against shorter range enemies so that they will dodge towards you and then immediately follow it up with a neutral light. The best moves to do this with would be downlight and ground pound because they usually leave you next to the ground and has decent recovery time. Side air can pressure really well because it has really good reach, so if you notice the enemy tends to avoid that area by double jumping or dodging really quickly, then a good way to counter that would be to jump up and then quickly dodge downwards. If the enemy dodges downwards, then you can punish them with downlight or sidelight. If the enemy double jumps or dodges upwards, then you can have an advantage from below because Gauntlet has one of the best recovery and a strong neutral air. Even though sidelight has no true combos, which is a combo that can't be dodged, you can string it into just about anything, which is combos that can be dodged out of. The strongest follow-up is neutral air because it leaves the least amount of time to dodge or jump out of, so less experienced players will fall for it very often, and you can combo that neutral air into a side air most of the time. Experienced players, on the other hand, will pretty much always dodge after you land sidelight on them, so trying to string it into another attack is often useless and could even be punishable. That's why it's really good to just wait for them to dodge and then attack them when their dodge is on cooldown. A common one is to spot dodge, which is dodging in place. If you expect them to spot dodge after you sidelight, then just fast fall into jump neutral air. This is essentially doing the standard sidelight into neutral air, but this makes it so that you hit them just as they finish dodge instead of hitting them during their dodge. It's pretty much the same thing if they dodge forward or backwards. Just turn around or move forward a bit and then neutral air them. There's also dodging straight down. In this case, you can just fast fall into downlight into sidelight and repeat the whole process again. If they dodge upwards, then follow them for a tiny bit and then recovery them. Neutral light is kind of similar to sidelight in the sense that you can string, but not as much because it has a bit less advantage frames, so it's easy to dodge. You can try to string neutral light into downlight, but most people tend to either jump or dodge after you land the neutral light on them. There's two follow-ups that I found to work the most after landing a neutral light. The first is to chase dodge forward into neutral light because most people back dodge after being hit by this move. The second is jump into side air because a lot of people will dodge or jump upwards after being hit by neutral light, and the side air covers a lot of the area right above them. Gauntlets is one of those weapons that has a lot of strings in exchange for little kill options. The neutral air, side air, and down air has pretty low force compared to a lot of its counterparts. That's why it's important to be able to look out for good opportunities to use kill moves like recovery, ground pound, and signatures when the enemy is in the red. A good way to land recovery is to use it as a combo after landing downlight. There's also edge guarding, which is hitting the enemy repeatedly off stage, so much that they can't recover to the platform anymore. And luckily, Gauntlets is one of the best weapons to do that with, because every single air move hits the enemy downwards except for recovery. You can hit the enemy in front of you with side air to push them down and forward. You can hit them below you with ground pound and down air to send them downwards. You can even hit them above you with neutral air and it will still send them downwards. So if you're using Gauntlets and the enemy is on a sidewall, don't be afraid to follow them down there for some fun time, because you can edge guard them from pretty much every single angle, especially since you can steer the ground pound. I hope this video helps you out. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe. I have more ultimate guides if you want to check them out. Thanks for watching and I'll see you next time.